What's up, people? Welcome to yet another brand new edition of Wrestle Update. I'm your host, Dylan Fox. You know me. You know my co-host, Nella de Angelis. We are here back again after a mammoth all-in episode. It wasn't that dissimilar from our normal length, but the show itself that we watched was very long. And we still covered it all with bravado. So, Nello, after that, we are bouncing back in short order. We didn't want to leave anybody out, especially with an all-women show. We had to be on the ground. We had to cover it. How are you feeling about everything right now?
Feeling good. It was a really nice way to wrap up a pretty stacked weekend. I mean, I only watched All In and Evolution, but that's pretty stacked when you consider All In was about 7 hours. So that was a full day.
Yeah, yes, yes.
So it was a really nice way to spend a weekend.
Absolutely. As you said, we talked about the whole episode. You guys got to listen to that for the All In episode. But we really got through the whole thing. A lot changed storyline-wise. We had a lot of cool stuff for that. And then we move on to this. I will say that I did watch the show the night prior. Saturday night's main event. And I can highly recommend you not watch that. I know you were the smart one. You didn't even try because it came on right after All In. Only two things of note, really. None of the matches are really worth watching. I'll tell you now. But a couple of things of note. They set up Jelly Roll in a tag team match at SummerSlam, teaming with Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Have you ever heard of this Jelly Roll?
Only because of WWE.
You've never heard any of his music?
No, I can't say I've ever sought out the Jelly Roll before.
This is on your Spotify?
No, it's not really on my Spotify, my socials, and my playlists. It's not coming across my desk.
Not a vinyl?
I'm not even going into gas stations that are playing it. I'm going to the gas station across town.
I don't really know his music. As I understand it, he's like another Post Malone type of guy that started rapping, but then when he got popular, he said, "No, I'm a country music guy now." And I don't know how that happened, but apparently he is very popular among the WWE, and we would get to watch him wrestle coming forward. Do you think he'll be better or worse than Action Bronson for AEW?
And this is one of those things where it's like, okay, you could criticize this just as much. Like, what's the difference between this and an Action Bronson getting in the ring? And to me, it's like, well, Action Bronson was on like a Grand Slam inside of New York City, and he's kind of like beloved there. Yeah. Is Jelly Roll beloved where they're going? Where is SummerSlam? Jersey, right?
Yeah, that's right. Doja Cat's gonna be there.
So a Tennessee-born rapper and singer. So I don't think he's a hometown hero in New Jersey. But hey, power to the WWE for seeing where the money is. Am I right?
Oh, yes. I mean, this legendary artist. I mean, I am from Tennessee as well, but I can't say I know that much about this man at all. But God bless him. Maybe he will have the Memphis-style wrestling ability that we all need so much.
Yes.
Solo beat Jimmy Uso. The match sucked. I don't watch it. And then probably the biggest news on the whole show was Seth Rollins' knee injury that caused him to lose against LA Knight. They said he was on crutches. We don't have a update on recording time. It looked kind of serious, but hopefully he's okay health-wise, or else that would probably mess up a lot of storylines. A lot of people said that may have even messed up the main event, because the idea would have been Goldberg winning and then Seth cashing in, which they could not do with him out. Instead, you had Gunther beat Goldberg, choked him out. They did our favorite finish. No tap out, the referee stoppage here on the sleeper hold. And then
Gunther special. The old Gunther special.
You cannot beat anyone clean. It must be a referee stoppage.
The only one who's tapping out is him.
Yeah, they even chanted that at the start of the match. They were chanting, "You tapped out," at him. So at least it was memorable. Afterwards, it's like they went to commercial, and then they were back in the ring with like everybody in the ring, and like Josh Barnett was in there, DDP was there, and Goldberg was like, "You know, guys, I never lost in Atlanta before. I'm sorry for that." And then the credits came on the screen, and the show ended like 10 seconds into his epic retirement promo. They cut his ass off before he could deliver anything. A lot of people were not happy with this because they wanted to see what he had to say, at least give him a few minutes. But the TKO WWE does not have time for that anymore, Nello. No matter how big of a legend you may be. When it's 9 o'clock Central, the show is over no matter what.
It's crazy that they still ran out of time even with the Rollins injury.
Yeah, I know. Because that match ended super abruptly. It's like, to describe it, he flipped over and landed on his knee, and his knee buckled. He kind of crawled to the ground in the corner. The ref and the medical people checked on him, and that took a minute or two. They kind of paused the match. Then Seth stood up. LA Knight immediately kicked him in the gut and hit BFT for the win. Like, that's pretty much exactly how the match ended. And so there was no... You would have thought they would have given him a little bit of extra time, like a few extra minutes. Maybe the match went over what they thought, because it lasted like 15 minutes. So, I mean, I don't know. But regardless, it's not a show worth watching. The funniest part was them cutting off Goldberg. I did see a Pro Wrestling Centel post that said Bret Hart said it's good they cut him off. I would have cut it off during his entrance if I hadn't. Which made me laugh due to Bret Hart's hatred of Goldberg. But we moved on to the show. We did watch Evolution, the first all-women's pay-per-view for WWE in 7 years. We talked about Jelly Roll. We got the theme song for this show, Tombstone Town, Outlaw Country Remix by Dorothy, featuring Lainey Gardner and Slash, the famous guitar player. We all know Slash. Where does this rank on the machine head scale of wrestling theme songs?
Middle. What about you?
I thought it was kind of a banger. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to Dorothy.
Okay.
Shout out to Slash.
Shout out to that's right. The guitarist Slash.
Yeah,
the legend.
Yeah,
Guitar
he's a
hero,
legend.
Legends of Rock.
Yeah, he was like, wasn't he on the cover of that?
Yep, he was the boss.
So you're going back to the old school with Guitar Hero now. So they bring it up. The build to this, I know you always say you don't watch weekly. And I think for this time, you were on even ground to even the most dedicated viewer, because there was not a lot of build to any of these matches. They basically announced them with 1 or 2 weeks out and did no major angles outside of a couple of brawls with the Intercontinental Triple Threat match. The big angle they did do was with Liv Morgan and Nikki Bella, which did not happen because Liv also got injured and she's going to be out for a few months. So they put Nikki in the Battle Royal. And so there wasn't a lot of build to this. It goes to show you that there was a lot of fan criticism that there just wasn't a lot of effort put into the build here. This did come to us from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. And I will say, my Uncle Donnie was live in attendance with his wife for this show. He called me earlier in the day and bragged about how he was going. And I said, I hope you have fun there. But I was not salivating over the possibility of this at all. But what do you think of, like, what is there goals, like their secret goal for this, because the first time they did this evolution, it was right on the back of the Saudi show, where at that time they weren't even letting women wrestle on their shows, and a lot of people speculated that this show wasn't made good for that. Do you suspect there's some kind of secret reason to bring it back now of all times?
I don't know. This whole weekend just felt kind of corrupted in the sense of everything was there to take the interest and the coverage off of All In. So
Which
to me,
failed miserably.
It feels like, oh, well, if we just did 3 normal shows, right? What's so unique about that? But if we put this sort of gimmick show on the weekend that everyone's been asking for 7 years, then maybe we can really distract them. So it's really shitty that this is the weekend they chose for it.
They really only hurt themselves in reality. Like, whatever headlines this Saturday night's main event NXT would have had really got taken by All In more than the other way around. So they really set themselves up to fail, particularly when they didn't even put that much effort into building Evolution. A lot of these matches were thrown together. Even Trish did an interview where she was like, I really wish we had more time. I wish our segment together wasn't so boring on TV, on SmackDown, but that's most of SmackDown, so, there's not a lot they could have done. But it was a capacity crowd of almost 9,000 fans, or 8,300 fans here. And so they did have a good crowd. The crowd was hot into this. I will give them that. The fans there seem to buy into this messaging and all of that stuff. So they start off with a video package with Katy Perry's Rise song here. And they show these 2 little girls, 10 to 12-year-old girls or whatever. They were playing with action figures and watching TV, and they showed the women's wrestlers on the TV. They play this big video of big moments, and sometimes legendary women's wrestlers, and sometimes just older women's wrestlers. And they basically set it up like, hey, we came from this point with the Attitude Era. Now we're here where the women can be real wrestlers and all the little girls can be inspired. It was a nice video, to be honest with you. They start off with Joe Tessitore, still doing the same Saturday night's main event place he was at too, where he's on top of the stage. He's hyping up the show, and he's talking about how one person had so much impact on women's wrestling and needs to be credited and needs to have a spotlight. Stephanie McMahon comes out.
Thank God.
Oh, I mean, we couldn't have done it without her. She invented women's wrestling, many people would say.
The face of the Evolution Revolution.
We couldn't have done it without her. This show would have gotten an F grade from me if she hadn't have been on it. To be honest, I think most of the fans agree with that. And finally, after all the years of WWE not honoring wrestling, we talked about it on All In, how they respected the world of wrestling and WWE doesn't. Now they finally came around. It's like they heard you say that, Nello. And their response to that was honoring Stephanie McMahon. Much like her husband getting the first pop of the night as well. So she did not give that to anyone else. She gave it to herself. She goes on and she talks about how great everything is. The women's division has never been better, blah, blah, blah. She says that she's looking forward to the Jade and Naomi match. And that, she remembered when women weren't getting opportunities, but now they do, and now they can main event all the time, just like the men, blah, blah, blah. So then we cut to the women's IC title 3-way match. Bayley comes out first. We get Lyra Valkyria coming out with her wings, which she could not really fit in the entranceway, so she kind of had to fold her wings up as she walked down the aisle. And then Becky Lynch, who is the champions, She comes out, showing out, and they did have a spirited promo segment on Raw where Bayley called Lyra a bitch, and then they all brawled. And this feud has started. This does have history to it. Becky took Bayley out at WrestleMania, so that let Becky and Lyra win the tag titles. Then Becky and Lyra lost the tag titles, and Becky dropped Lyra and turned on her. Then Bayley came back, but Lyra was pissed because Bayley didn't answer her text messages for 2 months, and then they all hate each other pretty much. The crowd was super hyped for this. They were riled up for everybody. It felt like they probably rallied behind Bayley a little bit more than the other two most. They do their typical 2 girls in, 1 girl out triple threat formula that WWE is known for. Lyra ends up hitting some cross bodies on people. They look for the Rose Plant and the Disarmor early on. They all countered each other's finishers pretty much. Then at one point, Bayley tied Lyra up into the Tree of Woe and hit her sunset flip bomb into the corner on Becky into Lyra. And they go up top. Becky superplexes Bayley, looks for the Disarmor but couldn't get it, so she turns it into a regular arm breaker. Lyra comes off the top with the top rope leg drop bulldog. And they go in, and Becky ends up hitting the manhandle slam, the rock bottom, on Lyra, but Bayley makes the save. Lyra did an amazing dive afterward where she did a Superman-like dive into Becky to break it up, and it looked really great. Some of the near falls were really well timed for both Lyra and Bayley. Lyra hit Nightwing, but Bayley saved that. Finally, Bayley turned it around into the Rose Plant on Lyra, but Becky did this really cool pin where she basically flipped and spun over Bayley while she had Lyra covered in the jackknife style cover. She did a flip and spin over into a backslide to steal the win. The inmates love this 8.72 rating. A little high for me, but this was a very good opener, I would say. What did you think, Nello?
Was this your favorite match of the show?
See, that's the thing. It's between this and the main event, but this finish was way, way more satisfying to me.
Yes. And I look at the Fatal 4-Way from the day before it all in. I think this triple threat had such better pacing and 10 times more action than that Fatal 4-Way did.
Oh yeah, totally.
Everything looked crisp. Everyone was in their spots, making it look natural, flow well. Great character work, dynamics. I really like this. I'd go 8.5 on this. Personally, it was my favorite match of the night.
I think that's a totally reasonable take, because again, both this and the main event had great action. But the main event, you had to deal with the goofy finish. So here you had a great match with a great finish. I definitely think, compared to the 4-Way was amazing. I thought this was better than the opener, too, on last night's show. I thought it got things off to a great start. The crowd was really into all of this. And like you said, they all did a great job of getting their characters over, even though they haven't had a ton of build recently. So everybody looks good. Everybody gained from it. Becky with a strong win and retain. All of these Becky and Lyra matches have been hits for me. I feel like every time we talk about them in a match, we praise them, and Bayley didn't take away at all. She only added to it. So I think that's a good thing too.
Yep, she did not convolute the dynamic. You look at something like Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda, and you're like,
yeah,
Charlotte it was a party at that point. It was too many people, but this was really well done.
Yeah, it was really good. They all worked hard, and they felt like they wanted to make this a show-stealing type of match at the end of the day. They show Ava, the GM of NXT, to set up the NXT title match going forward and the women's title match going forward. They show Mark Henry in the crowd. I'm not exactly sure what he has to do with women's wrestling, but sure, he's the world's strongest man. 3-6 Mafia theme song. We will always appreciate that. Then they show Vicky, who has like some very not good allegations against her from Shaw, like her daughter. But WWE did not care about that at all, apparently. So they showed her on the air. She got booed on there. But otherwise, they did try and make this like this opening segment was weird because none of these people really have anything to do with women's wrestling or the growth of it. But for the most part of the night, they did try. This is something they kept cutting to, was people in the crowd. They ended up setting things up for the women's title match for NXT. They showed a hype video where JC Jane shockingly beat Stephanie Vaquer. This is one of the few times a second in a faction actually won the main title and basically kind of took over the faction. They showed Jordan Grace's path. She had to earn her way in and to set up this match here. Obviously, I think we all like Jordan from her time on the Indies and TNA and all of that. But she gets a major spot here. They show where Blake Monroe comes up backstage, and Jordan's like, hey, Fatal Influence is going to be out there. I need some backup too. Will you come out with me? And Blake Monroe's all like, well, I don't want to take away from your spotlight. And Jordan's like, oh, you won't. And Blake Monroe's like, sure, I'll come out there. So Jordan and Blake come out. Like right away, I suspected like this was going to lead to what it led to. Pretty much. I don't know about you, Nello, but I kind of sense that because this pairing is not going to work, in my opinion. Like these two just do not go together at all. And I did not think that they were going to last very long. I think Fatal Influence. Yeah.
They didn't have like a Tony Mariah style chemistry where it's like you want to see them together for a long time either. Jordan very much felt like a device to get Blake over and her character by the end of this match.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think Fatal Influence have great aura to them. Like the entrance they have is really good. I love the music. I think it's some of the best entrance music WWE has. That slow rock into like lighting it up really fits JC as well. And they kind of told a story in this match that JC is like she shouldn't really be the champion. She's the most beatable champion ever. They had. So they're not really putting her over as a big threat. But they mainly worked this match straight up until the end. So they come in, they have a good back and forth. Jordan does show some good power spots here. JC gets her into a catapult into the middle rope, which looks really good. Jordan hits a big power moves like the spine buster. Hit a sit-out power bomb. He hits the world's strongest slam, shades of Mark Henry. Maybe that's why they showed him earlier. She looks for the Vader bomb, but JC gets out of the way. She hits a swinging neck breaker from the like a rope hung swinging neck breaker. Jordan hits this like insane looking fisherman suplex where JC's leg is like over her shoulder and she reaches back and then hits a fisherman suplex with it. It looked awesome. I thought very unique stuff. JC hits a big running knee strike. Suddenly, we see the interference. Fallon throws in the title, but the referee grabs it. Then we see Jasmine Nix on the outside. She grabs the title, and it's like, oh yeah, now I've got the belt. Blake Monroe comes in, decks her, lays her out, and takes the belt. And she points to Jordan like, this is yours, get the belt. And so they do an Irish whip spot. Jordan reverses it. And then JC reverses it and throws her into Blake Monroe, who decks Jordan from behind with the belt. And that lets that lets JC hit the rolling encore, rolling elbow for the win. They tried to actually play this as like, was it an accident? Did Blake mean to do that? And it was like, come on. I actually thought this match was pretty good until the finish, actually. I thought JC held her own very well here. They didn't really play too much. I never once felt like, oh, like she's this massive underdog getting slaughtered by Jordan. But they had a pretty decent back and forth match. And then the finish, it kind of set up stuff going forward. So I actually kind of liked this. What did you think?
Yeah, this was good. I go like 3 1/4, it's like 6.5.
Yeah, that's right. That's right where the inmates are. 6.79 for the inmates, by the way, on there. So good call there. I agree with you, by the way. That would be exactly what I would rate it.
Yeah, I mean, it put over Jane as a legitimate contender as a champion. I thought she looked good in there. She didn't really look out of place with Jordan Grace, especially in a little bit of a longer than television match. The Blake Monroe turn was expected, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was bad. I'm happy that they're moving her character forward already. Her versus Jordan Grace should be a good feud. And I think that after that, you could probably have Jordan Grace leave town and go up to the main roster.
Totally agree. Like, there's no reason for her to be in NXT. I mean, Blake's character was basically Sabrina Carpenter. And I think now they could get something closer to the Woman from Hell type of deal. Because she did have that evil look and like the biting her finger thing at the end. She came across like a really dastardly, villainous woman here at the end. They cut to Jordan, and I think she got her nose busted by the elbow that JC threw, and she looked pissed, and she was like growling, and there was blood coming down her face. It was a pretty awesome visual, to be honest. That like she's gonna rip Blake Monroe to shreds when she gets a hold of her. That was good. Big fan of the whole act with Fatal Influence. That to me is a main roster level act. And I think JC's showing. We praised Fallon Henley too when she was the North American champion. Her match with Stephanie was really great. And I just think the package of them is like a winning group. Like everything about them works for me. And I think they did a good job here. Like very good match. And we were all in agreement, whether me, you, the inmates. I thought definitely a successful match on the show. So after that, they set up they show more people in the crowd. You get Jazz. I was psyched to see her. I was a huge Jazz fan back in the day. I always thought she was like way underrated. I know her and her husband Rodney Mack did a lot for the Indies in Louisiana too after their WWE run. They showed Ivory in the crowd. Miss Jackie, Jacqueline was there. Maurice was there. So they showed a bunch of women. Big fan of that. They cut to Stephanie McMahon. She gives us some like very generic platitudes about the last match. But it leads to the tag team title match. This was set up after Liv Morgan's injury, where they forced her. Well, they didn't force it, but they suggested Roxanne Perez would replace Liv. Raquel Rodriguez didn't like it. Like, she would rather team with Liv. But she agreed to keep the titles on themselves. And the GMs came together, Pierce and Aldis, and they said they're going to have to earn it. They're going to have to face a team from SmackDown, Raw, and NXT to defend the titles. The big angle leading into it was the reformation of the Kabuki Warriors. Asuka coming back after a year-long injury, and she proved that she likes Kairi a lot better than Io, based on their interaction for the title before Queen of the Ring, and how much she had Kairi's back heading into this. The Kabuki Warriors come out first. Asuka's wearing like this full bodysuit that's all silver. I've never seen her wear this before, but I was watching this one with Mama, like my grandma, and she thought it looked awesome. I was just surprised because I've never seen her wear this before. This looks like something out of like a silver version of Kill Bill or something like that. Here, So they come out. We have the NXT team of Sol Ruca and Zarya. They've kept this odd pairing going longer than I thought, to be honest. But they're still at it for these tag titles. You have Alexa Bliss and Charlotte as a makeshift team from SmackDown, because nobody's on SmackDown. That's a team. So they put them together. Alexa got a huge reaction from the crowd when she came out. And then finally, the Judgment Day team enters. They start off with Roxy and Kairi Sane. Kairi just drills Roxy with this drop kick to start the match off. It was freaking awesome. They're working at a great pace to start, Kairi and Roxanne. They come in. Asuka tags in. The crowd likes it. The Warriors both knock the NXT team off. Raquel comes in and gets things back to her side. She again knocks the NXT team back off when they get back up, which is pretty funny. The crowd's chanting, "We want Charlotte," which is very rare for her. And it's funny because they had just talked about how like Charlotte's one of the least popular members of the women's division. And then they cut to the crowd chanting for her. Alexa tags in. Then Zarya tags in. She does some good power stuff going in there. They try to do some stuff with Sol Ruca. Sol does this like airplane spin into a back suplex, which looks pretty cool. Finally, Charlotte comes in like a house of fire. The crowd pops big. Asuka gets a tag in. Suplexes everybody. We see the Soul Snatcher on Charlotte from Soul. And they set up a tag team move on Alexa where she like drops back, pops Alexa up. Zarya is about to hit a spear, but Charlotte pulls Alexa out of the way, and Zarya just destroys Sol Ruca with a spear. And that leads to Raquel grabbing Alexa. She powerbombs Alexa over the top rope onto everybody else on the outside and hits a one-handed Tejana bomb on Sol Ruca. And the Judgment Day team gets the win and the successful defense here. 7.56 rating, a cage match. What did you think, Nello?
Thought this was good. Again, like my comparison point was the triple threat tag match from the day before. And I thought that the action in this one was a little bit more compelling just because you didn't have that weird dynamic that we talked about with Hurt Syndicate shit, you know?
Yeah.
What did you think of Raquel's performance? Because, you know, recently Kevin Nash made that statement talking about how she works too small, how it kills him, and he wants to see her work bigger. And then she responded to it and said that she was going to make an effort to and took the criticism to heart. So with this being the first outing since then, what did you think?
Well, first of all, I liked how Raquel worked before. We talked about her match versus Ripley. That was the best match on that show, in my opinion, on the Saudi Arabia show. Secondly, not just her performance, but how they booked her. She looked like a total beast, to be honest with you. They gave her a bunch of big power spots. When she threw Alexa over the top rope, yeeted her onto everybody. That one-handed Tejana bomb at the end looked sick on Sol Ruca. I thought it was a great finish. Raquel looked awesome in the match, I thought, for her role. I thought they did a better job with her than Zarya, who I think, like, her look is like a 10 out of 10. So badass, monster look. But they just have not been able to do anything with her on NXT. That spear Zarya hit on Sol was good, but they didn't make her look like a beast the way they made Raquel. Like, Raquel looked like the wall of this match. What did you think? Do you think Kevin Nash would be proud of this performance?
Yeah, I think, you know, with the big spot that comes to mind is when she did the single arm power bombs to Kairi like twice.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really impressive and stood out to me. And yeah, I thought that she looked really impressive here on a comparable level to the Ripley fight.
Yeah, Raquel's good. Like, that's how I feel. I know she took a lot of criticism early on. I think it's interesting that she took that advice so strongly. That she was massively respectful, talked about how great he was as a big man and all that. And I was thinking Nash wasn't that great, like as a big man. But I thought she did a great job here, and I thought they went out of their way to make her look good. I thought the Warriors looked very good as a team. Like, a lot of these teams are kind of makeshift, but you saw a lot of high-speed double team work from Kairi and Asuka. They really didn't miss that much of a beat, even though they hadn't tagged in over a year. I thought they impressed as a team. I thought Raquel looked good as her own like powerhouse level. And I thought the SmackDown wrestlers, like they both were very popular with the fans, even if they didn't have great spots or anything. They did a good story with her saving Alexa, like maybe they are friends for real. And they might have set off the Soul and Zarya split, because Soul is right now the North American champion. And I think that would be a great spot for Zarya to be in. Feud with her over the belt and try to rehab her as a monster. Because I do think there's something there with Zarya, but it just has not been touched on anytime we've seen her. This was a good match, though. Like, I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
like
I go 6.5, 7.
Yeah, it's 7.56 on the inmates, but I go a little lower, but I still thought this was a recommended match. Great pacing, a lot of good spots, fun match. Like, it was everything it needed to be, in my opinion. They show Tori Wilson in the crowd. She's wearing a Rhea Ripley shirt as well. They show Melina in the crowd, and I haven't seen her back in a long time. I know that Melina was on a show in China recently, like wrestling on a show. Which is the world we live in today.
OWA?
No, it wasn't OWE. I think they're long since gone. I think that was Middle Kingdom Wrestling, but she may have been on that Korean show too. That people that I see that guy talking about a lot that sold out like a 4,000 seat arena in South Korea. Big props to him. Molly Holly showed up. They show clips of Mighty Molly, and then they cut to her with her short hair. I'll tell you, Nello, I was a huge Molly Holly fan back in the day. I thought she was a great wrestler and way underrated. I was a fan of Melina too, but she came in a little bit of a later era. We're getting into my era of people now. Tori Wilson, a WCW alumni, and Alex Rodriguez, former girlfriend as well.
All of the statistics.
I'm very well in tune to my WCW era women's division of the late 2000s. Let me tell you. Let's talk about Major Guns up next. Instead, we cut to Stephanie McMahon and Joe, and they talk about how crazy the action's been, how great everything is, blah, blah, blah. They recap Trish challenging Tiffany. Trish helped Tiffany out heading into WrestleMania, heading into Tiffany's match with Charlotte. But she's a legend, and Tiffany feels like she needs to take the torch from her because she wants to face a legend. Trish comes back, all white attire here coming out. We hear her old...
You know what my first thought was? Just because my brain was poisoned from the day before, I was like, oh, fuck, she's going to bleed. Because of Hangman's white pants, I was like, oh, man, she's gonna gush. And then I was like, no, this is Evolution. This is WWE. What am I talking about?
We did see the blood earlier with Jordan Grace, though. To be fair, the hard way. So Trish may have been preparing for that. They were talking about how it was a tribute to legends before her. I don't know who exactly this gear was. It just looked like a white version of her normal gear, to be honest. Tiffany comes out in this red gear, which was like, I've never seen her wear this before. But it was like, I don't know. I like her normal gear better, in my opinion, the pink stuff, more than this red, like, lingerie-looking gear that she had on. They come in. The crowd's into this. Stratus does some stuff early on. They fight early on. They go to the apron and, like, Trish jumps to the outside and hits a stratosphere from the floor to Tiffany on the apron and flips her off onto the floor. It looks pretty cool. They give Trish a tornado DDT, and that got a near fall. Tiffany comes back with a big super kick. It looked really good, too. Suddenly, Tiffany, speaking of AEW, hits the end of Heartache on Trish Stratus here. I almost jumped out of my seat at this. She's never used this before, and it's not a move I would ever think of her using, but it looked awesome. She hit a great Swanton bomb. It looked like a direct hit. Trish kicked out of all of that. She gets another. Tiffany looks for the prettiest moonsault ever. Trish gets the knees up. Gets her on top for a second stratosphere, this time in the ring. Finally, she hits the Stratusfaction. They teased that a couple of times throughout the match. She finally got it. That got a big pop. And then she goes up and she does the lead assault, looking for her own moonsault. But Tiffany counters that, hits her own prettiest moonsault of ever after the Alabama Slam, and gets the win here. 7.04 rating. The thing about this match is, I'm not criticizing Trish at all. I thought what they did, she looked good in pretty much all throughout the match. There were no spots where I thought, Trish has totally lost it. She sucks now. She looked fine, and Tiffany looked good too. But it was only 8 minutes or so. I really thought they could have expanded this a little bit more and made it a lot more epic. For a legend, for Trish's era, she's the girl of WWE at the time. She was everybody's favorite, unless you were a weirdo work rate fan like me, who liked Victoria and Molly Holly and Gail Kim more. But she was the legend of that time. And they just kind of gave this a mid-card match, pretty much. What did you think, Nello?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have had both world titles in a double main event. I think that, especially the night before, we saw that you can do a triple main event of all these titles and not really lose prestige. But, as long as you prop it up, it looks good. And placement-wise, they didn't really prop it up. But I love Trish, man. She worked her ass off in this match. I was really, her hitting the moonsault, I was like, oh my God, this is like Muto hitting the moonsault in his late stage. This is crazy. I was really impressed by her work. I thought some of the, reversals were good. The finishing sequence was nice. Character work was really good. I was, this was a match where Trish's moveset is not inherently exciting or flashy in the sense of running bulldogs and shit like that, it's fairly basic stuff. But I think it's the experience of seeing her in the ring with very much a new generational quote unquote push talent. And they really pulled that off well. I thought both of them, they had great chemistry and they worked really well together. So I go 7.
I would go 6, but only through no fault of their work, which I thought was good throughout. I just wanted to see it be a little bit bigger. I think they could have created more drama. Instead, they had a good mid-card match where I don't think anybody thought Trish could have won, unfortunately. But it was a good match. They cut to a commercial of Tiffany with a Maybelline commercial they do there with her lipstick and all of that. And when they get back, they show her on the outside. She's still posing for the crowd and all this. And suddenly a referee goes up to Tiffany and is like, hey, get the hell out of here. Get up the ramp, will you? And so they rush Tiffany back up the ramp so they can cut to Trish in the ring, who gets a standing ovation. And the crowd chants, thank you, Trish. Calling back to her heel gimmick from a couple of years ago, which I loved, personally. I thought she did a great job with her role as Zoe Stark's mentor and the feud with Becky Lynch. It was good stuff. Overall, great to see Trish back. Hasn't missed a beat, even at 49 years old. She looked great out there, and I'd love to see her back again at some point. I just hope they give her more time next time. They show Medusa, Alundra Blaze in the crowd, and Leilani Kai, who at last check was messaging me on Twitter to bury Dave Meltzer last time we spoke on there. Due to some stupid comments Dave made, with all due respect to Dave, they were stupid comments back in the 1980s for them. And that cuts to the no holds barred match with Bianca Belair as the guest referee. Bianca comes out to a huge pop. They show Naomi with her caution tape. Then Jade comes out with an all blue entrance. Naomi's gear has like little razor blades on them to create a disco ball effect. I thought it was an awesome look from Naomi. So they do a lot of brawling to start off. Naomi hits her with some kendo stick shots. Jade fights back, tries to set up a table, but that lets Naomi fight back some more. Naomi's throwing in chairs and stuff into the ring. They bring out a toolbox and a chain. She tries to choke Jade with the chain, but Jade fights back from that. Jade ends up picking the toolbox, and after she throws Naomi to the outside, she throws the toolbox over the top rope to the outside, and Naomi said, "Hell no, I'm getting out of the way of this." So she rolls out of their way, and as she should have, thank goodness she did. Naomi counters and drops Jade right next to the table, the outside table, the commentary desk. She hits a hesitation drop kick that like shoots sparks off from the table. I thought it was a creative spot there to do that. Like she knocked out the electrical current of the announce table. Naomi hits the heat seeker onto the apron. Looked great there too. She grabs a chair, runs it at Jade on the apron. Jade drops backwards into the table. She actually does the trust fall like Chelsea Green did, like with her ladder bump. But it was like a very low drop. It was not that dangerous looking, I do have to say. But in the end, she tries to put Jade through a table. Jade counters. She hits a chair to Naomi's back on the top rope. Jade climbs up, hits Jaded through the table from the middle rope. Clean win for Jade. No real drama with Bianca. She was basically a total, like, nothing to the match, just was a normal referee. But Jade won. What'd you think of this hardcore match here?
I liked their WrestleMania match more.
Yeah, me too. I thought that same thing, actually.
This had an impressive finish, but even with the finish, you could really like Naomi went way earlier than Jade did. So it looked like Naomi kind of gave herself the move a bit. So I don't think that the execution of stuff was as crisp as before. I'm not like, again, with Jade, we talk about it every time. She has everything but the in-ring skill. And it's just like, it's only going to become more glaring when she's given a higher, position again. And it's one of those things that goes against a wrestler's success. And I think that they really need to figure out what to do with her because, like, yes, she can get by WWE standards, but I think that to really become a great wrestler, like, she's got to crack the code in ring.
To me, she should switch spots with Jordan Grace. Like, have Jade on NXT. Like, put her in lower pressure situations and let her grow. And Jordan doesn't need to be in NXT.
Out of Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace, Julia, Roxanne Perez, and Jade Cargill, if there's one of them that needed to go through NXT, it was Jade, and she was the only one that was given a main roster ticket.
And I think, like you said,
that was really short-sighted.
Yeah, and I think they just wanted to get a win over Tony Khan. Yep. And be like, hey, we took one of your biggest women's stars, you pushed to high heaven. But they didn't really have a plan beyond that. And it's shown. That's why she was gone for all those months. And there's always flashes with her that she can put it together. Like that WrestleMania match was a really good performance.
Yep.
But then you saw the Asuka match and she looked awful. And this was somewhere in between, I think, this hardcore match. But the fact is, she's not there. Like, in ring, the problem is that what you said is absolutely true. If you judge her by look, like 10 out of 10 superstar, the aura is so strong and stronger than basically any other woman. But she cannot carry her end in these feuds, like, for the most part. Like, let her go to NXT. Like, I know it might be seen as a step down, but now that this Naomi feud's over, like, where else can you really go with this character even on SmackDown? They've moved Naomi to Raw, like, because of what happened with the title match afterwards, so that's done. Like, are you going to have her turn on Bianca and try her as a heel? I think they would be better off putting her in NXT and letting her be kind of, like, let her be the Trick Willie of the women's division. Like, another one who is like, everything about that guy looks like a superstar. When he walks into a room, that's somebody. But he's got some ways to work on the in-ring. Like, let her be that for the women's division, in my opinion. And maybe one day you could go back to her and Bianca and do something, or maybe even her and Naomi. But yeah, the match wasn't bad though. It just wasn't as good as the WrestleMania match. I actually thought they did try to get creative, and I think something. Naomi to me is also not a great worker, in my opinion, but I do think she has a great mind. You know, she thinks about things creatively with the razor blades, with the character. The spot with the drop kick I really liked. Into the table. They did some stuff with the chain I thought was cool. I also think they didn't get enough out of Bianca in this match. Like, you should have had her do something to try and save Jade, or maybe like Naomi would deck Bianca accidentally. I don't know. They just didn't do anything. It was a pointless stipulation to me. I give this a 6 out of 10 personally.
I'll go 5.
And I definitely think this was the least. Well, the Battle Royal was the worst match, but like, in terms of the matches, this was the worst one on the show, in my opinion. Pretty easily. So, Jade and Bianca have a stare down afterwards, and they just go away from. And they cut to a video package on the Battle Royal. Nikki Bella comes out first to a great pop. A lot of Bella Army signs in the crowd. And so, that leads us to the Battle Royal. Whoever wins gets a title shot in Paris, France. Coming up in a month or so. We've got Nikki Bella, Alba Fire, B-Fab, Candice LeRae, Chelsea Green, Julia, Ivy Nile, Izzy Dame, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, Lash Legend, Lola Vice, Maxine, Dupree, Michin, Mia Yim, Natalia, Nia Jax, Piper Niven, Stephanie Vaquer, Tatum Paxley, and Zelina Vega. Literally, as soon as the bell rung, Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame got thrown over the top rope. It's a shame because Tatum is like one of the better women on NXT, but she just looks like a complete geek here. It was typical Battle Royal stuff. The big part of this match was how much they built around Stephanie's Devil's Kiss. They did a spot where Maxine did the worm, and she pointed to the Natty and she said, "Do the worm." And Natty did a horrific version here. They put a lot around Julia and Stephanie, do some headbutts to each other. They have Zelina Vega eliminate Julia on the apron. They had Niven and Alba Fire protect Chelsea Green, who had a lot of spotlight. They put a lot on Lash Legend here, so she was doing a lot of big power stuff in there. And everybody was mocking Nikki Bella's dance. Then Lola Vice came in and was like, "Nah, I'm like, let me try too." So Lola and Nikki did her hip shake move together. Great spot. Like, put Lola over. They come in. Nia then does her version of the Bella dance, which is very funny. They come in. It comes down to Nikki, Lash, Nia, and Stephanie. In the end, Nia goes out and like she ducks out of the way, so Lash ends up big booting Nikki off to eliminate her, and the crowd booed that. They weren't happy to see Bella gone. Lash lifts up Nia Jax, puts her on the apron, then her and Stephanie end up eliminating her together. They put Lash Legend and Stephanie Vaquer as the final two. Stephanie hits the Tiger Feint kick, looks for a springboard crossbody. Lash catches it, more power stuff. In the end, she locks in a choke. They roll to the apron. Vaquer hits the Devil's Kiss, slams her head on the apron 10 times, and rolls her off. Stephanie Vaquer wins the Battle Royal in 15 minutes and 32 seconds. 5.86 rating on Cage Match. What'd you think?
Dude, I can't believe when they showed everyone, I was like, they're not going to do every entrance, surely. And they did every single entrance. I was like, this is how WWE feels a PLE right here. This was fine. I think that, again, like this being the weekend of a million events, there's going to be comparison points. This versus the Women's Casino Gauntlet. Totally different vibes.
Yeah, totally different.
Women's Casino Gauntlet felt chaotic, felt like a really creative blend of really different dynamic characters, and this was a variety of really like incredible women's wrestlers and then like WWE projects that have never really taken off. And that pretty much defines the work rate. I thought the final spot was inventive with the Devil's Kiss. You know, they built up to it. It's the biggest move, and they love it. So, good job booking it on that. But I was surprised by the rub. Lash Legend felt like kind of Keith Lee rub when he was in the Rumble. Just like really strong or the Survivor Series, really strong for the time he was in there, being an NXT wrestler. So yeah, who knows? Maybe Lash Legend call up soon. I like how they referenced specifically that like when they got to the final three of Nia, Lash, and Stephanie, that all three brands were represented. So I thought that was smart as well. Yeah, like this was, I give it a 4, but again, with stuff like Battle Royales, it's way more about the result than it is about the match for me. And I'm very happy about this result. I really wish it was against Io, because Stephanie versus Io is like a dream match of mine, especially after we got teased with it on like that post-Mania Raw. So I would love for them. And like they keep denying us finishes to Io matches that are great. This is like a multiple because it happened in the Stephanie match too. So, but we'll get there. Yeah, great result. Whatever. Besides that,
they put over Lash, they put over Stephanie. Nia was a force as well. None of the other, like they gave a couple of people their spots, like I said, that Lola and Nikki Bella spot, but nothing major. Yeah, but to me, like if you put all these people up, like Stephanie's pretty much my pick. Like if it were up to me on who would win. Julia's already a champion. Nikki's a legend. You could always go to that easy pop. And to me, Stephanie needed it more because they haven't allowed her to find her footing on Raw. Now she has something. I think she should win the belt, to be honest with you. Like if it were up to me, do whatever you're going to do at SummerSlam. Probably a triple threat like Triple H loves to do. Get through that, have Naomi steal another win. And have Stephanie win it in France. And that's going to get a huge reaction, like her in France. And by Survivor Series, we can finally get mine and your both dream match. Vaquer versus Io. We're going to talk more about Io in a second, because I have some thoughts on this title reign as a whole. But I do think putting Stephanie over was the right pick as well. So good stuff there. So then... afterwards, Stephanie comes in and asks Stephanie, like, hey, what does this mean to you? She actually speaks in Spanish against her, and I can tell you as a Spanish speaker, it wasn't great. Vaquer starts off in Spanish, but then says, Let me try in English. She says, it's not my first language. Wrestling is my first language. She cut a full promo saying that she's going to do everything in her power that everyone remembers her name. Like, she is going for the belt. She is La Primera Stephanie Vaquer. First of all, her English promo was actually pretty great, like, to be honest with you. Like, there wasn't any problems at all. She spoke with confidence, which I think is, for a lot of the foreigners, is kind of their hard point, is, like, speaking with confidence. Like, Asuka's good about that, too. Her, like, English doesn't have to be perfect. If you sound like you believe what you're saying and you're sounding cool, then that's really all that matters.
It's all about your authentic voice, not the way that you say it.
Exactly. They had Julia. They cut some bullshit promo for Julia where she was like, my path to the WWE is what it's always been. It's always been about perseverance and dominance. It's like, who talks like this? Like this is obviously a script. Like, that's not her words at all. And why would she, like, even if you were a native English speaker, that would probably suck, that promo they gave her. So here Stephanie sounded like she meant what she said. She sounded dangerous and confident and badass, which she is, all of those things. The crowd reacted. They love her. Why would they not? She's awesome in every way. And she's a superstar in the making, for sure. So they recap Io and Ripley. The big talking point is Ripley's never beaten Io, and now is her time to do it. And they let Io pick her opponent. She wanted to face the best, so she picked Ripley. They didn't do much more beyond that in terms of build-up. They both come out to really strong crowd reactions. It felt like the two biggest stars of the women's division were going at it head-to-head here. I really wish we had had a deeper angle, but still, though, this crowd bought into this main event. They felt like the biggest stars on the roster. Io comes out with a white and pink outfit, more fur on it than usual for her special Evolution entrance here. They start off with a little bit of slow stuff. They do some counters, and Ripley's talking shit. She's all like, look, like, let's do this. And Io's like, I respect you. And Ripley's like, I respect you too. So let's fight. So then they turn it into a brawl. They go outside. Io looks for an Isai moonsault. It doesn't work. They go in with back to the outside with some stuff into the barricade. She throws Io into the steps. Io comes in with a satellite into a DDT. They set her up for a big tope suicida on the outside, which Io hits great. When Ripley comes back in, Io hits a big missile drop kick. And she looks for another big DDT, but that gets countered into a suplex. Io counters that. Io hits a poison rana. Like, Ripley takes great bumps every time she hits a DDT or a poison rana or something like that. Ripley does an amazing job of landing on her head for it. Really makes every move like that look great. She looks for the over the moonsault, but Ripley counters into a razor's edge, and she just, like, slammed her into the ground with this razor's edge. It looked freaking awesome. Picks her up and knocks her down with a sit-out powerbomb. Looked great. Sky hits a springboard into the dropkick, but Rhea ducks. The referee gets knocked out. Ripley hits Riptide, but there's no ref. The crowd counts to 3, and she's pissed. They go out to the crowd. They brawl all the way over the arena into some big cases. Io knocks her down. She climbs up to the top, hits a crossbody from like 15 feet in the air. She ends up hitting the over the moonsault. The referee comes back in with miraculous timing right as she hits the moonsault. Ripley kicks out anyway. They go up top. Ripley looks like she's going to try for the Riptide from the top, but Io turns it into a one-woman Spanish fly, and they're both down, and that's when Naomi comes in with another ref with the briefcase. She decks Io with the briefcase, throws Ripley out, hits the spit-legged moonsault, and scores the win. I do like how the commentary immediately, because as soon as she hit Io with the briefcase, I immediately thought, okay, that should be a disqualification. But they did say it's a triple threat where no DQs are allowed. However, I thought this was a fantastic match, like the best wrestling we got on the show. And when this finish happened, it really deflated everything to me. So this does have a great rating on Cage Match. And I'm not going to hate on the inmates for this 9.29 rating, because I definitely thought this was like a 9 out of 10 at least. But the finish was so bad, dude. Like, why did we have... It's a great point you made. They've done it multiple times. Io is getting screwed out of finishes to her matches. When you see how great she can be, we saw it at the WrestleMania triple threat, how amazing it was. Why would you do this on your show? This is your gimmick special women's show. Let this go to a finish. Either crown Ripley or crown Io. Either one's fine. Ripley looked amazing in the match, by the way. I know Io is always going to be a favorite and have cred from her Japan run, but Ripley was every bit as good as Io in this match, in my opinion. And she deserves praise. It's unfortunate that these two, who are fantastic wrestlers, are not being used to the best of their abilities by this company, which is putting them in positions to undercut them constantly, which is what I thought this was here. So yes, this was a great match, but this should have been a match of the year level match. Unfortunately, it got taken down by the finish.
Before I dive into my thoughts, not to make this a contest, but Tony versus Mercedes or this?
Oh, I thought this would have been the better match if the finish was different. But because of the finish, I think the other one was better. Like, I would take Tony and Mercedes. I criticized that a little bit, but it was still a great match.
Wow. Okay. See, opposite. I'd go like 8 on this, like a solid 4. And finish definitely brought it down. I think like, and laugh at me all you want, but I've been watching so much goddamn like 2014 through 16 Io Shirai lately. And I've just been so conditioned to like that level of World of Stardom title match. And it just didn't quite hit that level for me. Like again, like there's something about WWE for me, at least, where it's like some of these matches just feel like they would have been better in another company, another setting. And this is one of those ones to me. Like, I think the triple threat did really well within the constraints of a WWE match, right? Triple threat is multi-man is one of their strengths. But
yeah, I'd just like to remind you, Nello, that triple threat match we both said was the best match of WrestleMania weekend any show.
Yeah. No, again, triple threat, right?
Yeah,
and, so yeah, I don't know. I like after the ref bump, it kind of lost me during all of like the outside of the ring fighting. It lost me just a little bit there.
Yeah, I understand.
And then that followed up with the finish just kind of deflated me for what I thought was otherwise a pretty damn good match.
I really thought they were building to something special, but it just didn't come across. But actually, now that you mention it, like, that's a great point. The brawling on the outside was unnecessary, but on the other hand, I am somebody who has watched all of those EO matches too, and they did very similar spots to that, with her jumping off of the barricade in Korakuen as well. Like, they've done that plenty of times, just without the ref bump. They just went there and did it anyway. With her and Mayu and stuff, with her jumping off the big thing. But I do agree that was kind of cheesy. The brawling wasn't that inspired. But I don't know. I thought it was a really great match. Really let down by the finish, unfortunately. And a lot of people have praised this as an amazing match, but I just can't go that far. With the finish being what it was, I would have to give it an 8 with you as well. And again, I would pick Tony and Mercedes. So we actually agree, to be honest with you. And on top of it, this EO title reign has totally been disserviced. We waited for her to have this major moment. She got her WrestleMania win, the first ever Japanese win at WrestleMania. And what they've done since then was the Raquel match that you mentioned got interrupted. And then this was the only title defense that she's had since WrestleMania. She has not defended the title from WrestleMania, the triple threat match, to this match. She has not defended it at all in 3 months, Nello. What the hell are they thinking with this? Like, all you have to do, she's like a super easy person to book.
Look. You got to save the women's matches for Evolution because where else are you going to do them?
At least for title matches, I guess.
Dude, it's so fucking stupid. It also pissed me off that Julia was in the Battle Royale. Like, you really couldn't squeeze on a pre-show match or one other title match. Like, represent everything. And anytime they throw in someone like with a title into a Battle Royale for another title, I feel like it just devalues what they came in with so much. And
I agree with that.
Just an incredibly thankless title reign for Io. And just, she didn't deserve it. Like, she did so well in the lead up to WrestleMania. And, you know, she had the challenge of climbing the mountain that was being on equal footing with Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, arguably two of their biggest stars, if not the two biggest stars. And she got there, you know, and then they didn't use her once. Like, how can you do that? It makes no sense. And it's frustrating because, again, it's like this company is so obsessed with moments and nothing to follow them up with.
It's just such a shame. They've had no problem putting Becky, Lyra, Bailey on every week. Like, Ripley's on and she's not even a champion. Like, why can't we have, like, Raquel and Roxanne are also on every week? Like, why do you have 5 women ahead of your champion on your show? Like, every week for 3 months. How do you let that happen? I just don't understand it at all. You had easy storylines with both Kairi and Asuka. If you wanted to do that, like, you could have got something out of that. You could have done a tag team run, like, put them in there as a trio. Do whatever you want to do. You've got options. They chose not to do this. And it's just such a shame for one of the best talents that they have. And that's not, like, that's something almost universally agreed upon. I just don't know what they think she's missing. It's just really strange to me. Very over with the fans. Everyone praises her. And she deserved better for this. Her SmackDown title run with Damage Control, that wasn't great, but she also wasn't over at the level that she is now. Like, they didn't put anything into her. She basically, like, she earned her fan support, earned her spot, and it definitely was criminal of how they booked her run. And hopefully they've got this Money in the Bank crap out of their system. They give it a fresh start with Naomi. Let's see what they do. But if you ask me, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see a triple threat at SummerSlam with these 3. And Io may be the one to take the fall out of it, unfortunately. But my hope is that it's a building to Stephanie winning the title. If that happens, then I think I'll be okay with the rest. So, with that said, that was the main event. Disappointing ending for sure to it. In the end, Naomi gets a crap ton of fireworks. And in the end of the day, that is the show. 8.78 rating overall. What would you say about this show? What's your overall final thoughts on Evolution?
Great show. I'd go 7 on it. I went 8 for All In. I'd go 7 for Evolution. I don't think that there was anything offensive on the show in terms of match quality, and everyone showed up with their working boots. The show was bookended by 2 really strong matches. You had some really great results, like Stephanie becoming the #1 contender. You had a prolific generational battle between Trish and Tiffany, even though it maybe wasn't propped up to be so important. And, a great showcase for the tag division that they never will actually invest in.
Yeah.
So for tonight, at least, it was good and it was fun. And again, like I was happy that I got to enjoy both events this weekend. It was a nice Saturday and Sunday.
This was a really good show. I hope that they learn a lesson from this. And that lesson is, this is a sweet spot for WWE. You don't need to have these lame 5-match PLEs with a million hours of commercials. This was a perfect amount of matches. It didn't go too long. They didn't have a bunch of filler on the show. Nothing reached the emotional high of the All In Hangman win or the greatness of the tag match. Or really even like Mercedes and Tony. I know we were split on Omega and Okada, but I really like that match too. I thought the opening match and the ending match were both really great. And we had a lot of good stuff on the show. Otherwise, it didn't feel like a ton of filler other than, like you said, the Battle Royal entrances. But at least it gave you a listen to all of the wonderful Def Rebel hits that he's come together for the women's roster as well. A lot of people, we had some backstage news reports afterwards that said basically all of the TKO executives love the show and are going to be pushing for another Evolution within the next year or in the near future at least. Which I think deservingly so if they plan it out like this. Hopefully if they do another one, it's built to a lot better. Because I think that was one thing missing from this. Like, they did not build to this show in any meaningful way. So they had to go by purely in-ring stuff. And there is the rumors that says that Trish and Nikki will be back later in the year. Both Trish Stratus and Nikki Bella will wrestle again before the year is out. I fully expect them to wrap up Nikki and Liv Morgan at some point once Liv gets back from her injury. And I think Trish can do some great things too. I would really like to see her more on the mic because I think she's one of the best mic workers of any of the women to this day. And she can build a great match. But overall, I'm with you. We both gave All In an 8. I would give this a 7 as well. And I thought it was a good show. It didn't reach the high peaks, but it was actually a lot easier of a show to watch than All In just because of the time constraints and whatnot. So yeah, great weekend of wrestling. So hyped that we could cover it all. We will discuss more. We should have another episode coming up very soon. Me and Nello are going to talk about what we're going to do next. Coming up, I have a few ideas, which we will listen about, including what I have dubbed myself my both greatest and worst idea of all time. So we're going to see. I don't think he'll give the thumbs up to it, but we'll see if he does or not. If not, we'll do something else that might be a little bit more tolerable. But thank you guys for listening as always. Nello, we're heading out for this week. We did both shows back to back. We liked them both. We had fun. I enjoyed talking to you as always. What do you got to say to the people out there listening?
Thanks for hanging out with us for 2 shows this weekend. As always, it's so appreciated. And just thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Double down on that. Big thanks to both of us here in the WU crew right now. We really appreciate everybody taking time out of your day, night, morning, overnight. If you're like me, if you are that much of a freak that you're up at 4 a.m., then you know that you've got me there with you in spirit and through the audio as well. So thank you guys so much for that. Really appreciate you all. Can't wait to talk to you again. Can't wait to talk to you again, Nello. But most importantly, I need you to know what I tell you every single time. It hasn't changed. It won't change. And it will never stop being the truth. You know I love you. And until next time, this has been your Wrestle Update.